We're going right now into the governor. And we're naming the governor apologized. Well, if you didn't hear the apology, we are getting ready to play that right now. Today, we learned two things from the apology. First, B.M.M.A has cost approximately $6.7 million so far out of a $10 million budget. And second, the governor of the central bank has apologized for comments that he made when asked about those same costs. And some of you would remember. But before I say another word, I want you to hear the apology for yourself. Dave, which one is this are we hearing? Okay, so we're going to hear before. So this is what happened, and then Dave is going to play the apology right after. Go ahead, Dave.
Now, as much as you would like to hear, I ain't putting no figure out there. Because if you put it, why matter you can pay for it? And also why you want to know it for.
Good evening, Barbados. I want to speak directly and plainly about the response I gave when I was asked about the cost of B.M.M.A. My response was inappropriate. A reporter asked me a fair question on the cost of B.M.M.A, and I should have answered directly. There's no place for making light of a question like that, and there's no place for seemingly dismissive of the public's right to know how public resources are being used. So let me say first, I am sorry. I apologize to a young reporter who was simply doing his job. I also apologize to anyone who heard my response and felt that I was being disrespectful, evasive, or unwilling to account to the people of Barbados. That was not my intention. That's not who I am. But I accept that that's how it came across. The reason I hesitated at the time was that I did not want the discussion to reduce B.M.M.A to one figure without explaining what that figure covers. But that's not an excuse. In public finance, the answer cannot be just go and read the reports. The answer should be clear. So here it is. The cost of B.M.M.A to date for phase one, the entire payment infrastructure, not just the app, is approximately $6.7 million against an approved budget of $10 million. We are well within budget, and the work continues to be delivered in phases, and as soon as the remaining work is completed and reconciled through the normal processes, we will report those costs as well. B.M.M.A is a national instant payment system. It is the infrastructure that allows money to move between banks, credit unions, in real time, safely, securely, and at any hour. Prior to the introduction of this system, our payment system was predominantly private owned. B.M.M.A reduces the cost of doing business because there are no fees for individuals and fees for micro and small businesses have been capped. Full public ownership of this new national payment system by the Central Bank of Barbados allow us this flexibility among other benefits. I'm also aware that some Barbadians have had difficulty with the app, particularly with registration, with obtaining tokens, and with linking multiple accounts, and indeed with the overall app experience. I understand the frustration. We are working with the banks, credit unions, and with our technical partners to fix those issues and to make the system easier to use. This is an important project, but public confidence is even more important. And therefore, when I misstep, I will always own it. There was never any intention to hide anything, as I've said before. You cannot hide expenditure of this kind in public financial reporting, to which I have referred. The central bank have always been prepared to explain clearly what has been spent, why it has been spent, and what Barbados is receiving for it. I have been committed to public explanation of economic and financial issues, as you know, For example, in the Explainer series, and I've done that over the last couple of years. Thank you for holding me accountable. We will continue to provide the information clearly, and we will continue doing the work with you to make B.M.P serve you and Barbados well. I thank you.
Well, folks, you heard it. Now, when someone acknowledges that they got something wrong and when they apologize, we should recognize that, right? And it does take a lot to come and to say, I'm sorry. But tonight, I don't want to focus on the apology alone. And later in the program, I hope that quite a number of you will call in at the 9 o'clock hour to discuss this. I really want to talk about something that is much bigger than the apology. I want to ask a simple question. Are Bajans being heard? Are Bajans really being heard? The real issue was never just about B.M.P. The real issue was never just whether the cost was 6.7 million or 10 million or any other figure. I think, in my opinion, the real issue was whether ordinary Barbadians still have the right to ask questions about how public money is being spent. I remember when Carifesta occurred, and we and the then leader of the opposition was asking about how much money was spent. The answer was not framed this way, but it was the same attitude. What you want to know that for? We will tell you when we are ready. That was how it came across. They never said that. So the real issue was whether journalists can do their jobs without being dismissed, ridiculed, or made to feel that their questions are somehow inappropriate. The real issue with what occurred was whether those who hold positions like the governor of authority remember that they are accountable to the people. I hope he remembers that now, and he said that in his apology. Because sometimes in this democracy, it seems like questioning anybody's it's like nuisance. Questions are like it's a nuisance. But questions are not a nuisance. Questions are necessary. Questions are necessary. That's why we ask the hard questions on the Marcia Week show. And it was us viewers on this show. We were one of the first ones to ask for this apology. It was the viewers on this show. It was this show. Because we have learned that questions are necessary. And I hope we will never forget this moment. Questions are healthy. Questions are how accountability works. Questions are how citizens participate in the governance of their country. Can you hear me, please, tonight? Let's move. Yes, he apologized, and you feel great. Okay, he apologized, but let the lesson sink in a little bit more. Let's have an E.M.M.A moment. Every dollar spent by government comes from somewhere. And Barbados, we're going to have to ask questions in this here country. Sometimes we're going to have to ask the questions soft. Sometimes we have to ask the questions loud. Every dollar spent by government comes from somewhere. It comes from us, the taxpayers. It comes from workers. It comes from business owners. It comes from pensioners. pensioners who paid into the system all their lives. It comes from ordinary Barbadians, ordinary Bajans who work hard every day to build this country. And because it belongs to us, the people have a right to ask where it is going. Never, 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 never feel that it's inappropriate and that you're a nuisance to ask questions. The people have a right to ask what it is being spent on. The people have a right to ask whether they are getting value for money. That is the lesson today, June 17th, 2026. That is not disrespect. That is democracy. And in order to preserve the democracy, we must continue to ask questions and force them to answer the questions. That is what happened today, June 17th, 2026. He did not just apologize, he answered the question. And when a reporter asks a question about public spending, we want every official listening, because I know you watch this show. I want you to understand that that reporter is not simply asking for themselves. They're asking on behalf of every citizen who may not have a microphone, a press pass, or a seat right there in that room. They are asking for all of us. If I ask questions on Facebook, they curse me. The people, because of lack of education, lack of understanding. These reporters, they're asking for all of us. I know we say the media, this and a lot of times, but this young man, a young man, I think I've got his name, and I'm telling you, I'm going to celebrate that young man. He should feel very tall tonight, feel like a true Bajan. And it is because we believe those reporters are asking for all of us. That is why so many people reacted to the issue. Because Bajans did not see it just as an exchange between the governor and the reporter, you know. They saw it as something bigger. They saw it as a reflection of a growing frustration that ordinary people are not always treated as if their questions matter. Barbadians saw this, in my opinion, as another moment in which citizens felt talked down to rather than listened to. How many times it happens in here with this government? This is a talk down to government. They talk down to us, snuffy in their noses. And we are saying today, June 17th, 2026, enough is enough. Because you know how many of you call me and say, Marcia, let's hit the streets. We ready. We have not gone yet for the year. We are tired of being talked down to rather than listened to. And whether you agreed with the reaction or not, one thing became clear. The people spoke. The people spoke. And eventually, the information came out, right? Think about that for a moment. The information came out because of us. Do you understand that? The pressure. The information came out because of all of us. We spoke out. When I put something on Facebook and I said, how many of you think he should apologize? You should see how many. That post has reached thousands. You spoke. The people spoke. Not because we remained silent, but not because they accepted what they were told. We didn't accept it. Not because we decided it was none of our business, or we want to chuckle and laugh away like the other embarrassed journalists in the room. The information you heard tonight and the apology came out because you exercise your democratic right to ask questions and demand answers. And I think that should be encouraging to all of us. Are you encouraged tonight? Because it reminds us that our voices, your voice still matter. You're not a nuisance. They call me a nuisance online. Oh, she again. You're a nuisance, Marcia. We actually use that word. But I'm encouraged tonight. I will be a nuisance then. And I know the rest of you're going to join me too. Tonight reminds us that all of our voices still matter. Public accountability still matters. And I know some of you say he might not mean it. The point is he had to come out and say it. He had to. I am not going to be here trying tonight, right now in this analysis, trying to say whether he mean it. I'm going to watch him afterwards. Tonight, this apology and this statement from the governor reminds us that democracy only works when we participate. It's when we participate. You complain that we are in we're in a dictatorship, but the democracy will vanish before us if we stop participating. And that is why I believe my message tonight is simple. Don't surrender your voice, people. Wherever you're listening to me, whether you're an enemy of the show, you say, well, I can't stand Marcia Weeks. That's the other thing they love to say. I can't stand. Whether you can't stand me, oh, she's a nuisance. I hate that show, but you're still watching. I want to talk to you too. Don't surrender your voice. Do not allow anyone to make you feel that asking questions is wrong. Do not allow anyone to convince you that transparency is optional. Do not allow anyone to suggest that ordinary citizens should simply sit quietly and accept what they're told. I say speak up. I say speak up. Ask questions. Engage people. Challenge them. Hold leaders accountable. Because they love to say, be respectful, but being respectful doesn't mean that you're going to be silent. Respect doesn't mean obedience. Respect doesn't mean surrendering your right to know. True respect for our country. We played the national anthem before we started. True respect for Barbados means caring enough to ask questions about what is going to happen to us, about our future. We must care. We must care. We must care enough to challenge the decisions. Please, are you listening to me tonight? Care enough to challenge the decisions. Care enough to participate. Don't give up. Those are the principles that make democracy work. So I'm not here to humiliate anyone. You know, not about that tonight. Tonight is about, I'm using tonight to remind us all of something important. Barbados belongs to all of us, not just the politicians, the public officials, the business leaders, not just the powerful, but belongs to every citizen. And every one of us has a voice. Every citizen have a right to ask questions, to seek answers. So the apology is welcome. But perhaps the bigger lesson I'm really trying to say, kind of move us above, beyond the apologies. When Bajans speak, they can be heard. When Bajans ask questions, answers can be found, right? So let us continue to speak and let us continue asking questions. Let us continue to participate. Let us continue to defend the right. I love how we stood up for that young man. I love it. That's Bajan. I love it. We stood up and defended his right. Because the future of Barbados will not be determined by those who choose to remain silent. Let me repeat, the future of this country will not be determined by those who remain silent. It will be determined by citizens who, like you and I, who care enough to speak. And so I leave you tonight with the same question which I started and which the show is about. Are Bajans being heard? The answer depends on whether Bajans are willing to keep asking. And I will continue to pray for this country and I will continue to serve. And there's nobody that is going to stop me